Helldivers, it's good to be back. I have just returned from a little holiday, and even on patch Tuesday, when we normally expect a patch, I had no signal, no Wi-Fi, anything like that, and I went to a little place up the road to have Wi-Fi, sitting there at 10:05 waiting for the giant patch. And yes, I saw the Discord go crazy and put into slow mode as there was no patch that dropped. Now, we have all the information today from Shams, who is the new CEO at Arrowhead, and he's pretty much put together a massive thread on Reddit, which has lots of information we're going to be reading through today, how the patches are going to happen and everything like that. And to be honest, I think the reason this one got delayed is because there is so much that's going to come with it, and I think they just want to, they've said they're slowing down on the way they're doing patches, but I guess they need to put out a kind of statement, which is what we're going to talk about later from news from Shams on how things are going to work forward in the future. I understand everyone's frustrations. We all want the new stuff, the new changes, but it's good to be back, and I'm going to be back to updating you guys every single day with everything we know from the devs. Anyway, if you guys do enjoy today's video, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and let's jump into things. So starting off first, it was the post from Shams, and he begins with, "Hello fellow Helldivers, greetings from the newly minted CEO Shams Georgiani." So hello fellow Helldivers. Now warning, this is a long post, so what I'm actually going to do for you guys right now, because I'm a lovely person, or I hope I'm a lovely person, is give you guys the information on the patch stuff before we jump into the big new stuff from Shams, because I feel like this is what most people are wondering, what's going on in the future with the patches. So someone said, firstly, early happy birthday. Secondly, great to hear the community managers on Discord mentions that patches are going to be a lot less frequent as more effort is being put into letting the devs actually play testing things. Not to do a where patch comment, but just asking what kind of timeline can we expect the patches and updates to come along. Before they were pretty frequent, is it going to turn to be like once a month or so, assuming nothing goes wrong? Will war bonds remain once a month or become bi-monthly or so on? And hopefully you can provide some more details on what kind of consistency everyone can expect to see over the coming months. Particularly for war bonds, I think most people were disappointed with Polar Patriots, and there's so many cool ideas that could have been done with war bonds to make each one more unique. But of course, making things better takes more time. So yeah, basically just wondering specifically any news on if war bonds might become less frequent, but come with more content that fits the theme. For example, the Polar Patriots armor should have come with better ice movement or quicker movement through deep snow, snowier stuff and stuff like that makes sense with each armor and weapon more unique to its theme and more specific for certain planets, allowing people to adapt to their loadouts much more around what planet and climate they're fighting in. Now that is an amazing summary, I have to say. Whoever posted that, really great summary. And Shams was saying thanks. I think we should be able to be a bit more transparent around our plans. In the future, I think we should be able to do better than sorry, no patch on the day of an expected patch. While there might be a good reason for it today, everyone at Arrowhead wants the war bonds to be as good as humanly possible, and we've received the feedback on the latest one loud and clear. So pretty much regarding the war bonds side of things, they're definitely going to look into sorting that out and make them a lot better, because I'll even agree with you guys, the Polar Patriot one wasn't good enough, nowhere near good enough, especially within a time where the game has been struggling a little bit. And as for patches, they're going to give us a little bit more of a future indication on what's going on, where they're going to be and everything like that. Because yeah, you know, instead of saying on the day, no patch, it's a little bit frustrating. Anyway, moving on from that, we are now going to read through the rest of the information from Shams. So Shams says, I'm a business/games guy who just joined Arrowhead as a CEO to enable Johan and the other amazing devs of Arrowhead to do more of what we all want them to do, make games. The ship will stay on the same course despite the change in captain. So my name is Shams Georgiani and I am the new CEO of Arrowhead. I wanted to drop by to say hello and introduce myself. To get a conversation going with y'all and set some expectations, much like Johan himself used and stuff. Sham said, I'm a colossal Reddit nerd and read a lot of posts on this subreddit. Briefly about myself, I'm based in Stockholm, like the rest of Arrowhead. I turn 41 tomorrow, and I got my start in video games at the exact same time as Johan and Arrowhead, as I was the organizer of the indie game competition they won when they made Magicka. Later, when they partnered with Paradox Interactive in 2009, I was assigned as their producing and marketing person, so we go back 16 years. While the Magicka launch was a big success, it was also a bit of a mess. Sound familiar? The game was insanely broken, a terrible producer on that product, but we worked insanely hard to fix things while the Arrowhead team patched the game like crazy. 14 patches in 12 days. So often in that fact, after a few days, the pirate group stopped pushing every new build to the Pirate Bay. Meanwhile, I hopped into every Steam thread and responded to comments, complaints and concerns. I think we all collapsed after 36 hours of non-stop work. When we woke up, we thought we'd met with tons of angry voices, but to our surprises, we noticed that while we were away, the community had rallied around our messaging and kept repeating our words. They're working on it, there's a new patch coming on Tuesday, and so on. Famous Tuesday. I mention this story because there are a lot of similarities between Helldivers 2 and Magicka. A lot of fundamentals of how we worked, how we make games and support them and establish them and how they carried on to today. And then he posted a little thing saying, here's me and Johan as babies 12 years ago. We later collaborated again on the Showdown Effect, which was a fun game, but we did absolutely terribly. Arrowhead/Paradox parted ways, but Johan and I stayed in touch. Over the years, I've helped Arrowhead with stuff on business, strategy, and the leadership side. You might say that I'm a business and leadership main class and a game product as a secondary class. A bit of a mirror image to Johan, who's game design main, but also has spent a fair bit of time in business. You'll hear a lot of RPG terms from me and Johan. I stayed at Paradox Interactive for 12 short and fun years and helped grow a company in a leadership position from a small 22-person company to the 800-person behemoth it became. I was mostly in charge of the portfolio over those years, and I helped sign and start bangers like City Skylines, Pillars of Eternity, Surviving Mars, and then a bunch of stuff that I did not so well in. I signed a game that ended up getting a 22 on Metacritic, Gettysburg Armored Warfare. I wear that achievement as a badge of honor, and I finally left Paradox 2.5 years ago. Over the years, I screwed up a ton and learned even more. It was the best school I've ever attended. While I'm not wearing the CEO hat at Arrowhead, I play a ton of games. I've played Magic the Gathering. I've been a Magic the Gathering player since 1995, but I'm a Spike. But also, I play a lot of pen and paper RPGs, and of course, a ton of other games. Dota 2, Kerbal Space Program, Battlefield, Helldivers. I beat difficulty 8, but not Helldive yet. A ton of roguelikes like RimWorld, Dyson Sphere Program, Subnautica, and my favourite all-time game is the TIE Fighter. But the game I've probably spent most times in is Smash Bros, N64 and Ultimate mostly. I'm a Kirby main and I hate myself for it. I also serve as the chairman/advisor for indie publisher Hooded Horse, and I'm also a huge Star Trek nerd. For the past 6 years, I've hosted a podcast, the Business of Video Games podcast, about the business side of the video games industry. So that's pretty awesome there. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all we'll talk about on that side of things. They say, okay, what about the future and what can you expect from the studio? So first off, this whole switcheroo is about getting Johan closer to the games, making new games/prototypes, having more time to play Helldivers, work closely to Micah, our excellent game director, and many other designers/devs we have. I've charged Johan with being the Obi-Wan to many Lukes in our studio. If anyone can hear Johann's voice in the back of their heads when they're balancing their weapons, designing missions or enemies, the better. That doesn't mean Johann is always right, but we intend to keep him on our toes and the rest of us. But at the end of the day, it's not Johann who makes the games, it's everyone else, it's the team effort. Secondly, keep working closely with Sony and improve the game as many people as possible. And they're an amazing partner, and we really wouldn't have HD2 if it wasn't for them. Thirdly, more. We knew it would be impossible to keep up with the demand and the hunger for more fun stuff to do in Helldivers 2. Our singular focus as a studio is to set things up in a sustainable way so that the long term we can make more stuff and better stuff. We're building a bit of scaffolding before we can make a bigger barn. Cue where the patch comments. Fourth, dialogue. I think Johann has a great presented talking and so plainly and directly with the community about the game. He's our ambassador and he'll keep being our big voice. But I'll be here as well, and why I've harped on a bit about myself. There's a human on the other end of the comments. It won't mean we'll respond to every thread, whim or louder voice, but we're here listening. Johann and I spent an hour over dinner the other night laughing at the memes you've made. I'll be frank and say the same thing most game devs say: when things turn toxic, the natural inclination is to retreat. Anyone who gets death threats and worse will naturally want to engage less with the community. That leads to a negative spiral with less interaction and more frustration. Johann and I will always be active, but we'll be more active the more civil and fun things are. So I'd ask you to help turn this into a positive atmosphere. That doesn't mean you can't criticize, you can and you should. We share well articulated feedback about the game internally. It really resonates, and makes it easier for us to do our jobs. We don't, however, circulate the posts where we're told to go jump off a cliff, although even if they might have an excellent design feedback. So that's all about it. Hit me up, we'll be lurking and reading, sometimes posting. Shams on his 7th day on the new job. Okay, so yeah, that was a lot to take in. I hope you guys managed to. Lots to talk about. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing more, seeing more, and hopefully in the future we can see a really successful thing. Now, finally, just to end off the video, a quick update on the Sony situation. Are you guys still in talk with Sony about the region lock countries that can't play the game? And Shams has said yes. So that is everything you guys need to know right now with Helldivers 2. I hope this explained things well and easy. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in my next video. And it's really good to be back, and hopefully I'll be able to reply to a bunch of your comments now I'm home and back at the office, I'm going to call it. Catch you guys then.